Hey guys, we're back, and sorry for those little technical difficulties earlier. But like I said before, we'll make sure to get you that segment that you missed as a recording. But right now, I want to say hello to Aris, and she's going to be talking about future-proofing the arts and creative industries today. And so she's been a creative, multi-passionate entrepreneur for a long time, and on a mission to change the world in many meaningful ways. And art and the creative side of things really interesting to her, and in her own self-exploration. And she has a very big belief that arts really touch every life in some way, whether it's entertainment, beauty, inspiration, or someone's creative business or process. And there's a lot of power in creative people that honestly I think we're just really starting to break the surface of today. So it's part of her mission to really future-proof the arts and creative industry, and I'm excited to have her here today to talk about that with you guys.
Thanks, Tim. I'm really, really glad to be here. And when you invited me to be a part of the Global Hope Summit, I was only worried that I could do it justice. Seriously, 2020 has been tough, especially for artists and creatives. So today I'd like to bring some hope to any artist or creative person who is feeling like they're lost, confused, or disconnected from a bigger purpose. Artists in particular have had concerts and gigs and shows and markets and productions canceled, and virtually every method that provides an income to a traditional creative has been wiped out or put on hold this year. And if a creative didn't already have that income, it might seem near impossible in the current financial climate to get their dreams off the ground. But there's hope, because on the other hand, 2020 has provided one huge benefit. It's lit a fire under people to create change. And in the face of fewer options and opportunities, people are finding and forming new ways and methods of doing things. And miraculously, things we thought would never work, art shows, performances, sales of creative works, free education, have successfully moved online, and faster than we ever thought would have been possible. Opportunities that were already ripe are now getting the buy-in they deserve by a larger distribution of people. That means we're hitting a critical mass, which is only going to make things easier and more efficient as we go forward, but only for those willing to step up and embrace the change. Now, in short, now is the best time in history to be an independent creative. Now, why does any of this actually matter in the context of hope and the future? Well, take a moment to imagine a world without art. Music, books, film, photography, dance, theater, crafts, and artisanal works all gone, poof, from our lives. Now, what kind of a world would that be? You see, artists have the power to change the world. We have changed the world. We can create inspiration and hope in the darkest moments, and promote healing and unity through our creativity. And when we support the arts, we support the future of humanity with creativity and individuality that supports conversations, brings beauty, unity, and inspiration to the world. When I founded my most recent business, Arts and Company, I decided to focus on future-proofing the arts. And I know that it's a great cause, because I know the incredible power the arts hold over our collective minds, hearts, and spirits. But to even begin to get started on such a massive endeavor, I had to first identify the issues and then the unique ways in which I'd approach them. You see, I wanted to create real, valuable, and lasting changes in the arts. And I knew it had to be different than the things we've tried before, because they are not working. Museums, schools, cultural centers, and historical sites are constantly underfunded and not well cared for. The arts have become inaccessible in so many ways and in so many manners. Every day, somewhere, we are not only losing legacy and heritage arts that define our global cultures, we also lose funding and support that can keep those arts alive. Contemporary artists also struggle to make ends meet and gain the recognition they deserve. I mean, how many artists do you know who are living their ideal lives, fulfilled with their daily work, making a positive impact in the world that matters to them and those around them? And if I was able to take a show of hands right now, I'm relatively sure there would be none or very few hands up. Now, how many artists do you know who are struggling to make a living doing what they love, who have difficulty being seen, appreciated, and rewarded for their hard work and talent? I'd say we each know at least a few starving artist types. So you see, we're already living in a dystopian state where artists exist in high numbers, but this fundamental part of the human experience, which connects us all, has been rendered non-viable by our broken systems. Now, imagine a world in which the arts and creative works were truly valued, cherished, and supported, and not just by governments and nonprofit entities, but by people and even by the artists themselves. This is the world that I want to contribute to creating. And this is the reality that could be with the resources we already have in front of us right now, today, if we only begin to shift how we approach these problems. So, how do we create lasting and meaningful change for the arts and creative industries that protects and supports them? In other words, how do we future-proof them? Well, we can face those big systemic issues top down. We could try to change the sloth-like behemoth that is the traditional fine arts, the nonprofit model, and our broken education systems. Or we can try a different approach. We start with the artists themselves. I vote for the latter. Now, let me share with you how we got here. Arts have long been considered a huge part of culture throughout history. They've been institutionalized and treated like a nice to have instead of the must have that they really are. And the details of that statement are not for today's discussion, but there is considerable evidence to back up how the artistic creativity of us humans helps us develop mentally and emotionally, and ties us together socially, and provides healing when we are sick. Throughout history, there have been certain creative individuals celebrated for their immense talent and abilities to inspire, entertain, beautify, and literally change the world. We all know the names of several famous artists who wrote, performed, crafted, painted, and designed their way to fame, despite being cogs in a bigger machine. It wasn't until recently, the 20th century, that society has given way to the self-made creative. You know, it's also created some of the greatest wealth in the creative industries that we've ever seen. However, most of that wealth has been made through the exploitation of talent rather than support. And the changes promoted by the Industrial Revolution changed the arts as well as industry. Opportunities were created, but for the few chosen ones, and they came attached with lots of negative outcomes for that talent. And here's how that system used to work. Around the turn of the 20th century, technological innovation was beginning to boom, and a few people were smart enough to see what the future held. And those who knew the power of the media began building empires around entertainment, music, film, literature, and fine arts. Commercial wars were waged, and some of them were very dirty. It became apparent that there was talent out there in the wild, and there was big money if it could be tamed. Thus, old Hollywood, the music, entertainment, and publishing industries, and the fine arts gallery system were created around the idea that the business side of things was best left to the professionals, and the creative talent was nice to look at, but needed to be controlled for the good of the system. Now, we call this corporate capitalism, and the main point was to make money for those who already had it. For over a century in our recent history, countless artists of all kinds were made to sign their lives away under the promise of being made a star. Many of them lived secret lives of misery before dying broke and broken. All the while, the industries behind this system raked in the cash. And you might wonder how this system survived for so long under those circumstances. And there are a few reasons. One, the talent pool was pretty large, and it still is. And they were made to believe they were disposable and shouldn't be sticking their noses where they didn't belong. In other words, the business side of things. Two, it took great financial power to get these things off the ground, which meant only a few people were positioned to even get started. And three, back then, the risk of failure was great and could ruin a person's whole life. So very few people even tried. Now, even though things have drastically changed, we're left with a legacy that still exploits the talent. Even to this day, an advance from a big name music label, and sometimes literary publishers, is a disguised loan against an artist's future earnings. So these systems were designed to take advantage of the possibility. In effect, these systems operated like venture capitalists, taking a gamble on the talent and hoping they'd pick a winner. But where does that leave the losing talent? Much like a losing racehorse put out to pasture, or worse, when things don't work out. So changes have taken place more recently that have once again shifted the balance and carry with them huge opportunity and growth. But as good little creatives, we've been taught we don't have a place at this abundant table. And this is where we need to stop the old school thinking about how arts are expendable and unnecessary. We creatives are not disposable. I have watched and studied and consulted and considered this problem in depth. Knowing what I know now and have learned over a long career, which spans several disciplines, I now feel there are obvious solutions to these problems. And I based Arts & Company on these three pillars as the foundation for these solutions: technology, innovation, and entrepreneurship. So technology, because it's the foundation of our future as we know it. Innovation, because it's creativity in its highest form, and it's absolutely necessary for growth. And entrepreneurship, because it not only empowers people to live better lives, but the impact they can make is multiplied through purpose-driven business practices. So to me, it's becoming increasingly clear where arts should reside in the new system. The greatest positive future can be facilitated through purpose-driven entrepreneurship and technological innovation, but on the public side, through individual, independent artists and creatives everywhere. Independent and self-employed creatives taking charge of their own creative destiny is where the three pillars of technology, innovation, and entrepreneurship meet. And it's time to take back our power and claim our place in the world. The growing number of self-employed independent creative types working in the arts and creative industries is a good indicator of what's to come. Because until very recently, it was difficult to be self-employed and independent, but now it's nearly a cakewalk. Risk and reward have been utterly flipped on their heads in the last 50 years. It's no longer life-threatening to fail. It's actually a daily necessity. And if you know anything about entrepreneurship, you'll know that creativity and problem solving are at the heart of it all. Now, what, if anything, do artists and creatives do but solve problems in hyper-creative ways every single day? There is no better match for entrepreneurship than a creative. In fact, the National Endowment for the Arts in the US, who, by the way, has a whole department dedicated to studying the impact that artists can create in their communities and towards global innovation, estimates that artists are 350% more likely to become entrepreneurs than the general workforce. But how many of those creatives end up building successful and sustainable, purpose-driven businesses in the arts? Not many, yet. So how exactly did all this become possible? The short answer is the internet, the startup culture, and a new age of technological growth and innovation. The internet has created an explosion in entrepreneurship, and technology has democratized and commoditized many of those out-of-reach opportunities of the past. Social media, online payment systems, accounting, peer-to-peer marketplaces, and fundraising platforms have all created a perfect storm designed to take anyone who wants it from starving artist to thriving artist. The barriers keeping creatives from a life designed to be fulfilling and rewarding to them lie just beyond this digital frontier. Unfortunately, despite all of these positive changes, there are many issues that still face us creatives even today. For one, there's a lack of respect for those of us who want to make a living doing what we love, which ranges from discouragement to outright abuse. I'm sure you've heard some of these stories. It's so disheartening to hear stories of all out war within families, or worse, people who were literally beaten into denying a future in the arts. I mean, imagine being a young creative person and getting a physical whipping because your parent doesn't agree with your life choice to become an artist before you even get to try. The high cost of higher arts education is another issue. There's little prospect of ongoing success because schools are not teaching the practical skills needed to survive. So we're all playing a game of modern capitalism, but most creatives are never taught the rules. In fact, we're often told we're not even on the team, but we are, and we should be playing our best game. And last, artists' own concepts of who they are and what value they bring to the world is a huge challenge. I've met so many people who wouldn't dare call themselves artists despite their obvious talent. And if you ask an artist what value they bring to others through their talents, they probably won't be able to articulate it. We need to change a lot of things. There is a lot we have to overcome to move forward, but it's waiting for us if we're willing to chase that dream. Now, my own story may be similar to yours or someone that you know. As a creative child, I was encouraged to develop my skills in drawing, illustration, voice, and performance. And I grew up being told that I had great talent. And I knew that I wanted to do something artistic as my future. But I was never empowered to take charge of my future. So instead of working towards my dreams and goals, in my family, there was a lot of talk about getting a job as an artist. And unfortunately, no planning. I mean, that didn't happen. While I was lucky to have so much positivity around my talent, I was still left without guidance. And I went into the world unprepared for a future as a working artist. I had to find my own way. In one way that was both freeing and terrifying. And I ended up going to college and dropping out of art school in order to find something that fit me and my goals better. Because the fine arts are absolutely amazing and there are tons of talented people. But I knew I wanted a clear path and a plan for a steady income. And I knew something was missing for me in that space. It was in a job that I finally found the mentorship that I needed. My first real creative mentor showed me the ropes of digital design and taught me the insider secrets of the freelancer world. When I went back to tell my mother that I wanted to buy my first very expensive computer and everything I'd need to start my own freelance business, it did not go down so well. Weirdly, it was the first time we'd ever really been at odds about my artistic talent, and it seemed to be completely about the risk involved in being independent. So my story is full of contradictions, and maybe that's because my mother was an artist and couldn't find her own success as a musician or a painter, among other things that she did. And like other parents, she probably didn't want to see me fail. Also, like other parents, she may have been the one to ensure my failure through her own fears and restrictions on my opportunities. It was as if I was allowed to dream, but not too big. And definitely not if it started getting real. So I experienced tons of setbacks along every path that I took as a working creative. And I had to navigate abusive relationships, people stealing my art and ideas, and they never even mentioned my name, let alone getting compensated. I got involved with some shitty people that only wanted to take from me. I suffered financial insecurities and so much more, like most starving artists. But I found myself in those lessons. And it took a long while, but eventually I found success in a number of different creative projects and endeavors. So I've been a professional illustrator, a voice artist, a filmmaker, a songwriter, an actress, a graphic designer, a writer, a singer, a costume designer, a maker, artisan, and more. Slowly, through and across it all, I began to see the patterns of success. And ultimately, entrepreneurship gave me the chance to try out many things to see if I enjoyed them and to decide for myself if I wanted to pursue them further. And all while getting paid to do so. It was really hard work and scary at times. So I understand that feeling. It was also heartbreaking. When I started, the opportunities were nothing like they are now. The independence and learning that has come from envisioning and creating a life I love is something I would never give back, though. And I can't imagine not having chosen my own path. And I'm still on that path, envisioning, building, and growing my life. And now I want to help others do the same. So I would love to know that every child feeling drawn to a creative life knows that there's great opportunity and choices for their future as an artist. And I would love to see every creative anywhere be equally endowed with the chance to build a life they love through their talent. I would love to take anyone who dreams of creating a better world by serving bigger purposes through their unique gifts and talent, along with me, as we learn how to provide for ourselves by building our creative empires. And if you think for some reason that you aren't cut out to be an entrepreneur or run a business as an artist, you absolutely are. Thousands of people have done this successfully, and it's only getting easier right now. Besides, let me remind you of the alternatives, because all of those traditional jobs that we used to rely on for safety and certainty, they do not offer those promises anymore. Not for you or your partner or your friends and families who may support you. It is time to stand up for what's yours and create your own security through your own business skills and vision for your life. Now, if you still think that money ruins creativity and it lessens its inherent value, consider how much freedom that financial peace of mind provides. Because that's the freedom that will allow you to create your greatest life works. Guaranteed. No suffering or starving artist ever did their best work under duress and in poverty. I mean, wouldn't it be great if you could provide for yourself and your family and never have to choose between your art and your income again? I think so. More so, what if you could create the kind of change in the world you want to see while doing what you love? You can, through entrepreneurship, through innovation, through embracing technology. And whether you're an artist in hiding, as I like to call those who put their dreams on hold for families and other opportunities and greener pastures, someone who's found success and is working hard for more, maybe you've been trying and dabbling and you see that there's a path, but you haven't figured it out yet. Or if you're just out of school right now and you're facing mounting bills and debt, I know there's a path to success for you right here. Here are some things that you need to do right now to get started. So mindset is often the first and biggest obstacle. It really starts with your identity as an artist, and it leads into the possibilities that you believe in. So start by embracing your identity as a creative. Own it. Tell people what you are. They will listen, but you have to believe it. Second, open yourself to the possibility of being successful, because there are role models and case studies and mentors everywhere. You just have to be open. The second big thing is the information out there. There's practical information all over the internet, and it's often free, and I want you to go get it. But I also want you to remember that all of that free information can be overwhelming. And in the entrepreneurial world, action is key. And most people actually fail because they don't take action. I want you to go get mentorship and community for support and guidance to get all the right information for you at exactly the right times in your path. I also want you to treat your future as an artist like the job you wish you had. You need to build it. You need to take control and learn the business like you learned your craft. It's the single most leveraged and rewarding path to a future that no one can take away from you. Lastly, I encourage you to envision a future in which you build a sustainable business that provides for you and those you care about and supports a cause bigger than yourself that you believe in, because it nourishes your heart and it directly changes the world. Today, you have my encouragement, support, and yes, even permission. We often need to hear that, to share your greatness with the world. And now you have the knowledge to do it. And if you're interested in learning more about what I'm doing, helping artists and creatives of all disciplines to start, build, grow, and scale their businesses, we're doing that over at artipreneurs.com. And whether you want to join me or you resonate with some other mentors, teachers, or guides, I leave you with this question. When the page turns on this chapter and your next chapter opens, what life do you want to have lived? And what legacy do you hope to leave? And thank you. Thank you for having me.
Wow, that was amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, I first just want to say thank you. And I think right now, this, creative side of humanity that's coming out, more and more, like we have opportunities to express ourselves. More and more we have opportunities to live the life that we want to create. And like you said, technology, innovation, entrepreneurship, all of those things have really created this. And creative people are going to define the future. And so it's so important for, anyone watching this, any creatives out there to find those places and find, I call it often play, find the place where your play is, and where you can really deeply enjoy that and learn through that and explore. So I would love to just ask you, where do you, what's the first place or the first step that an aspiring artist or a person who wants to turn art into a business for themselves, what's the first step they should take?
I would say that at this point in time, a lot of people are struggling financially. And the first question they want answered is, where's the money at? And the money is right now. And the opportunity right now is on the internet. So there are lots and lots of ways to make money through art on the internet. And I would think about your creative space and what you do. And a really good technique is to go searching for what other people are searching for. So if you do something very specific and you're trying to find an audience, you go do the same search that they would do. Find out who's serving that need. And if you can fill a space in there, that's one way to pick up some really quick money to get you through some tough times. But when you're thinking about building a business, we're talking about, solving long-term problems and building sustainability. So quick cash is great and we all need it, but you'll want to think about a path going forward. And that usually looks like planning out some things, pieces of your business. You need to understand who you're serving, what problem you're solving, how you're going to deliver, where you find them. All of those things are absolutely necessary to building a business. So if somebody's really serious about that and they want it to be something a little more long-term than gigging or freelancing, then they're going to want to look at, what's our big plan here? What's the vision? How does it play out? Why do I do it? Who can I align with? Those kinds of questions need to be answered to make it a real business and to make it something that's going to work long term.
Yeah, I love it. The beautiful thing is, as creatives, we're also empowered to be creative in creating opportunities, right? So,
oh yeah, we can see stuff. Yeah. We can see these like there's a hole over there, and somebody's like, "Hey, look, it's empty," and we're like, "No, it's not. It's filled with my vision."
Yeah, I know this has been also really key for me. I mean, and I know you're the same way. Like, we have thousands of interests, thousands of things that spark our various, endeavors or things we want to learn or create. How do you, as like I guess the word is multi-potentialite, like how do you go out and how do you decide where you're going to move forward, which path you're going to take?
So it's interesting you mentioned that. There's a lot of words floating around. I like to call it creative SOS. It's shiny object syndrome. I think every creative suffers from it. Nobody gets away, but you have to have a solution. And that solution is generally, what are your goals? You have to put your energy in the most efficient outcome possible. So when you're thinking about how you're going to solve an issue of like the issue of having too many interests is, let's settle on something that suits your goals, that aligns with who you are and what you want in the world. And let's focus on that. And when you can really focus on that, and you know that you're going to seek out an answer, a solution, or an end goal, you work on that and you work on that. That's it. Like alone, you just focus. And that's one of the hardest things to do. I mean, I actually have had many of those experiences throughout my life. As a multi-passionate or multidisciplinary person, I've wanted to do a little bit of everything all the time. I've had to really scale it back, and that's what this, 2020 for me was great, because it's like, okay, I don't have to worry about all this other stuff that keeps distracting me.
Yeah.
I've got an amount of focus I can put.
Mm.
In fact, we all had a little extra time on our hands. Hopefully, people were sitting back and thinking, what is the rest of my life going to look like? Because it gave us some mental space. Yeah, but it's really about paring down to what makes you happy. You don't want to let go of some of those very important things to you, but if they're not on the path to a goal, then they're kind of a hobby. Where the path to a goal is like, I'm working on this and I'm going to get an outcome. That's where your focus goes. The rest is like for funsies. You keep it there to kind of like, give yourself that space you need.
Yeah, that's so awesome, and I agree. That's kind of the biggest gift of all of this time, right? Is I think someone earlier on the summit called it a timeout, right? It's like, this is time for you to take a step back and figure out and connect to the part of you that, sort of that deeper, like, this is who I am, and I think that's been an amazing thread throughout this whole weekend. So I just want to say thank you for joining us here. It's been amazing. This was incredible information, and very inspiring what you're doing at Artipreneurs, and love how much you're taking everything that you've done in your life and really helping an incredible group of people who really need it right now. So thank you so much, and I look forward to the next time we get to talk.
Thanks, Tim. It was nice to see you again.
You too.